The story kicks off in the aftermath of a total apocalypse, where humanity somehow clutched the W. They went toe-to-toe with the 6 great demon gods. These monsters wanted to wipe the entire server, but in the end, they all bit the dust. Even the final boss, the demon god of the ruined sea, was taken down. But the victory lap was cut short because the cost was absolutely astronomical. A massive chunk of the planet got swallowed whole by a sea of destruction. Now, the human race is hanging by a thread, facing total extinction, and one guy is out there cursing his terrible luck. Staring at the wreckage, he realizes this victory feels a lot like a crushing defeat, especially since there are basically 0 heroes left standing. Even the tower that shielded Earth has been reduced to rubble. The world is just an endless ocean of ruin and bad vibes. He's venting about the sea, refusing to recede when a voice cuts through the gloom, mocking his solo pity party. Enter Yim Sunga, the rabbit hound, throwing shade and accusing him of wanting to hog all the glory. Then, Louis Vaillant, the explosive hound, slides in to roast his teammate, claiming he was just faking the funk during the fight. Finally, Amir Sin, the ice hound, chimes in, griping about their leader like it's just another Tuesday. The camera pans to our guy, Lee Se-hoon, the last blacksmith. The squad looks shook when he claps back with 0 hesitation. The blacksmith tells the so-called 3 hounds to zip it, refusing to take their nonsense. See, these 3 weren't on Team Humanity or Team Pandemonium. They were total chaotic neutrals. They did whatever they wanted, chasing the bag and looking out for number 1. Classic opportunists. But hey, being selfish is exactly what kept them breathing this long. Ironically, they ended up being the MVPs in the final clutch. Se-hoon can't help but wonder if the timeline would have been different if they had stopped being selfish sooner. Exhausted, the blacksmith scans his crew, wondering if any of them possess enough plot armor to survive this. Yim drops the truth bomb first. His insides are pulverized. He's toast. Louis and Amir are in the same sinking boat, ticking clocks on their heads. Se-hoon scoffs that they really should have shown up to the party way earlier. But as he grills them for only looking out for themselves, thud, one of the hounds collapses. Se-hoon watches in dead silence as the light fades from his teammates' eyes. Out of nowhere, a crimson energy blast wipes out the remaining heroes. They hit the dirt, unable to twitch. Game over. Now it's just the blacksmith. He sighs, muttering about how annoying his friends were right up until the buzzer, literally until the very last second. But he's not done. Gripping his hammer, our protagonist forces his battered body upright. He decides to burn his final HP bar, honoring the fallen. Naturally, he grumbles that they should have treated his masterpiece gear with more respect. He plants their weapons in the scorched earth, turning them into makeshift tombstones. After paying his respects, he feels the Reaper breathing down his neck. Gazing at the horizon, he knows his shift is finally over. He whispers that this is the absolute last time he does this. He triggers a hidden skill deep in his chest. A blue system window pops up. Extracting fate of target, Lee Se-hoon. The system alerts him that his bond with himself is being harvested. It's his innate trait, the blacksmith of bonds, an ability that turns relationships into raw ore. But using it on himself, the result is garbage, worse than scrap metal. Clutching the pathetic rock, he prays that if it's empty, it should at least hold his heavy regrets. Agony rips through him as he writhes in the dirt. Then, the sound of crashing waves fills his ears. Is it the ruined sea, or his mind playing tricks? Doesn't matter. Whenever he hears that rhythm, he crafts god-tier gear. Clang. His hammer strikes, and blinding light erupts from the stone, lighting up the wasteland. The smoke clears to reveal a basic dagger. He sighs, realizing that even at death's door, he couldn't craft a masterpiece. Frustrated, he stares at the plain, ordinary weapon in his hand. He figures checking out on his own terms beats getting eaten by the tide. As he tips over the edge, he mocks himself for hammering away until his dying breath like a fool. But as the dark water swallows him, it hits him. That wave sound? It wasn't water. It was the roar of his own mana. The soundtrack of his life was actually the ruined sea fueling him. He kicks himself for not realizing it sooner, for not rallying the 3 hounds earlier. But mostly, he regrets not swinging his hammer to save people from the start. Flash. A system window blinks into existence, displaying the dagger he just made. Suddenly, the ability, Return to Origin, activates. Through the confusion, a voice barks at him, "Cadet Lee Se-hoon." He jolts, shocked by the old title. Some guy is chewing him out for spacing out during the entrance exam. He blinks. He's back. 31 years in the past. He's sitting for the Babel entrance trials, but reality starts glitching. That image manifestation? It's the exact same one he saw right before his death. Is this regression tied to that artifact he crafted? Before he can spiral, the instructor barks a final warning. One more slip-up, and he's getting kicked out of the exam hall. The young man plays it cool, nodding along. Inside, though, he's reeling. Our protagonist realizes the impossible has happened. He's genuinely traveled back in time. He's got a legitimate second shot at life. The gears start turning if he moves faster this time. Maybe, just maybe, he can rewrite history. But he shakes off the what-ifs. Overthinking the butterfly effect isn't the priority right now. The only mission that matters is seizing this moment. A determined smirk cuts across his face. He vows to protect everything he lost. New life, new game plan. He's getting into Babel, no matter what. Step 1. Track down the notorious 3 hounds. It's time to remix their destinies. Meanwhile, a silver-haired observer is clocking our protagonist's every move. The evaluator's eyes widen. He's not just watching, he's analyzing, and frankly, he's impressed. The kid's rhythm is hypnotic. The sound of his hammer is crisp, pure resonance, zero hesitation. Lee Se-hoon's forging skills are god tier, leaving the old man stunned. The rest of the workshop is dead silent, heads down, grinding on their own tests, completely oblivious to the masterclass happening next to them. The instructor is floored by the sheer perfection of the blade the kid just birthed. The guy who yelled at him earlier, jaw on the floor. He can't believe his eyes. The silver-haired evaluator leans back, thinking they've just snagged a prodigy this enrollment cycle. He's convinced, if the kid walks that sword up to the podium right now, he passes. Instant A+. No debate. Then, the unthinkable happens. Crack. Lee Se-hoon smashes that flawless blade against the anvil, shattering it into useless shards. He stares at the debris, unimpressed. Can't submit this scrap metal, he mutters. As a blacksmith, putting my name on this trash? Never. The room freezes. One instructor loses it, screaming at the kid for destroying a weapon right in front of the master professor. Se-hoon totally ignores the noise. He turns to the evaluator, cool as ice, and asks for a reset. The old man is taken aback. Assistant Han tries to tear into the candidate, but the silver-haired boss raises a hand, cutting him off instantly. The evaluator orders the assistant to restock the kid's station. Our hero raises an eyebrow. Is that allowed? Or does he need to fetch the loot himself? Flustered and red-faced, Assistant Han stammers that it's fine, and sprints off to grab the materials. A few moments later, the evaluator locks eyes with the young smith. Hey, kid, he calls out. You know you're down to the wire? 40 minutes left. Lee Se-hoon nods. I know. The old man presses him, asking if destroying that first blade was really the power move he thinks it was. The protagonist doesn't flinch. He holds that stare serious, confident, absolute conviction radiating off him. I don't turn in garbage. Period. The answer hits the mark. The evaluator cracks a satisfied grin. Show me what you got then. Internally though, the kid is sweating. Perfect forging requires 3 things he's low on: mana, stamina, and time. But he's playing 4D chess while everyone else is playing checkers. He calculates the optimal move for this disastrous situation. Suddenly, a weird humming noise startles the student next to him. It's coming from the protagonist's station. The assistant panics, screaming. He's dumping raw mana into the ignition stone. Is he crazy? Our hero blocks out the noise. He's locked in, laser-focused on the dangerous procedure he's about to pull off. A neighbor watches in horror, muttering, "This guy's a psycho." Then, boom! A massive shockwave of neon energy erupts, illuminating the entire workshop like a fireworks show. One candidate screams for a fire extinguisher, terrified the place is burning down. "Let it burn," the professor commands, stopping the panic. "Nobody move, just watch." He tells his assistant to study the flow of the flames. Lee Se-hoon stands there, back to the crowd, like a conductor in an orchestra of fire. 5 colored flames dance around him. It's the legendary 5-color fire forge technique, cranking the furnace heat to extreme levels. It demands insane mana control, but the efficiency? Unmatched. A nearby student is baffled. How did the forge not blow up with that much juice? Then he notices the iron ingot glowing in the center. It's changed. The color is different. The evaluator realizes the kid didn't just heat the metal, he altered its fundamental properties. He's speedrunning the process. This cuts the forging time drastically, but with only 30 minutes on the clock, it's still a gamble. The old man analyzes the situation. The first sword was excellent, sure, but excellent isn't enough for what this kid is aiming for. If he doesn't pull a miracle out of that fire, he fails. Ignoring the ticking clock and the pressure, our protagonist starts hammering like a machine. Clang, clang. That confident smirk is back. He's got a blueprint for victory. He traces a strange rune on the glowing metal with his bare finger. Sizzle. Seconds later, he shoves the ingot back into the rainbow inferno. Sweat is pouring down his face, his stamina bars flashing red. But his focus is unbreakable. The young blacksmith drags the metal out and goes to work, hammering with speed and precision that shouldn't be humanly possible. A sudden, agonizing jolt shoots through his hand, freezing him mid-swing. For a split second, he realizes the tank is empty, his mana is completely tapped out. He makes a mental note to grind physical stats later, but right now, quitting isn't an option. With blood slicking his palms and his body screaming, he refuses to fold. Zero time to waste. He dives back in, smashing that glowing incandescent steel with every ounce of grit he has left. The kid is redlining his physical limits to get this blade done. The clock is practically melting away. Then the instructor barks the countdown 10 minutes drop to just 3 in a heartbeat. Down to the final 60 seconds, he enters the zone, laying down those finishing touches with surgical precision. Tools down. Now, the instructor bellows. A heavy sigh escapes our MC talk about a clutch finish. He barely made the cutoff. He tightens his fist, soaking in that sweet victory of actually pulling this off against the odds. Boom, system window pops up. Fire sword completed. New skill unlocked. The stats? High rank. The room goes dead silent. This isn't just a sword. It's a 5-color fire sword, shimmering with high-grade magic. The other candidates are absolutely shook. Nobody expected a masterpiece weapon like this from a student. Check the stats. The young blacksmith challenges. The instructors are floored. Assistant Han loses it, screaming at the top of his lungs that the kid absolutely crushed the exam. The professor has to shut him down for being too loud, and Han shrinks back, muttering a sorry. Cut to later, Professor Kim In-chul's office for the real talk. The evaluator eyes our boy, who's chilling on the sofa like he owns the place. He hits him with a serious question. Was that blade really your best work? The blacksmith doesn't flinch. It'll do for now. The prof reads between the lines, this kid knows he can do better. Even with a top-tier result, he's not impressed with himself. Being straight up, the old man drops a bomb. This place is too small for you. Withdraw your application. He spills the tea. Babel has the name, but their forging department is mid at best. 0 significant results. Our protagonist just listens, thinking, tell me something I don't know. He's from the future. He knows in 8 years, Babel's forge shuts down, and Vulcan Academy takes the crown as the best school. But the kid cuts him off. You've got it wrong. The top school won't be Vulcan. He locks eyes, looking dead serious. It's gonna be Babel. Why? Because I'm going there. That level of confidence, it completely blindsides the evaluator. He didn't see that coming. The man pushes back. You think you can be the number one? The reply is instant. Yep, because nobody's better than me. Intrigued, the prof asks if he actually knows how the best freshman title works in this massive system. Our MC breaks it down. The top 2 students from every single major face off in a special exam, and only the survivor takes the title. He explains that Babel Academy is split into the big 3, combat, support, and the technical department, which is where our hero is headed. Each department branches out into dozens of courses like a complex skill tree. To get best freshman, you have to be the supreme talent, recognized by the entire academy. Hearing this, the professor goes quiet, gripping his leg in frustration. The kid knows the stakes. He drops the teacher act, speaking man to man, veteran to rookie. Even if you're the GOAT, you'll struggle here. Go to Vulcan. He warns him that staying here is playing the game on hard mode. The evaluator insists it's the only play for the kid's future. Lee Se-hoon smiles, realizing this guy is actually legit, putting the student before his own job. A decent guy. But the young man claps back. The environment doesn't make the blacksmith. Just like he said before, with a smirk, he doubles down. Babel, the place he's enrolling, will become number 1. The professor realizes that wherever this kid goes, he forces his way to the top. It's beyond arrogance, it borders on a god complex. But somehow, he believes it. The man extends a hand. Looking forward to working with you. Lee Se-hoon shakes it with a smile, and ping bond level 1 established. His secret skill activates instantly, draining a bond from Professor Kim. Blue energy swirls around his hand as the blacksmith of bonds power procs. He manifests a special loot drop, high-quality fire-imbued iron. Cut to his dorm room, checking out the goods he just swiped. Not bad stats, he thinks. But look at the size of this thing, it's tiny. He reflects on his cheat skill, capable of spawning new materials. The issue? His bond level is still rookie tier. He's gonna need to grind that up. Look at those stats. Absolute garbage. Compared to the other freshmen at Babel, he's basically invisible. Major bummer. But hey, small price to pay for turning back the clock. Impatience is for amateurs, and he's not about to ruin a second chance by getting greedy. Steel in his eyes, he locks in. He's got plenty of time left to wipe every last trace of pandemonium off the map. We're talking about a planetary threat level here. To stop these monsters, he's ready to play dirty. Whatever it takes. Losing his memories of the future? Not an option. He needs a memory artifact. Stat. Step 1. Infiltrate Babel? Done. Now for the real work. Boom. Eyes flash. A holographic blue interface snaps into existence. Bond level up. Rank 1. New skill unlocked. Bond engraving. Fast forward 1 week to the towering gates of Grand Babel Academy. Wandering the halls like a lost puppy. Is this even the right building? The map is useless. Target acquired. Foundry room number 3. He pushes the door open, ready to drop a polite greeting. Cut off instantly. Cadet. Inside, it's a full house. Professor Kim and 2 strangers. The welcome committee looks unimpressed. One guy sneers, practically rolling his eyes at our MC's chill vibe. Meet Michael Barmavis, the vice director. And yeah, He's ticked off about the wait. Professor Kim steps in with the save. Relax. We've still got 10 minutes on the clock. Michael's not having it. It's not about time. It's about attitude. Lee Se-hoon instantly clocks the dynamic. Kim and the brass? They definitely have beef. Suddenly it makes sense. Why Kim tried to ship him off to a different academy. Meanwhile, the competition in the corner. Silent. Watchful. Blondie shoots a glare sharp enough to cut glass. Stone-faced. Sizing up our MC like a predator analyzing prey. He starts to speak, then freezes. Glitch in the Matrix? Our hero tilts his head, swearing he's seen this guy before. But the moment shatters. A new player enters the chat. Heads turn. The energy in the room shifts instantly toward the woman walking in. Michael straightens up. Dean. Se-hoon's eyes go wide. Heart skips a beat. He knows her. The woman takes her seat with effortless grace, leaving Se-hoon paralyzed. Ryunya, Dean of Borsippa. Sorry for the delay. Inside, Se-hoon is screaming into the void. Why is she here? That's S-rank hero Ryunya, the weapon eater, a living legend. In the old timeline, she was his best client. Flashback hits hard. Blood, rain, broken bodies. She was slumped in the downpour, eyes hollow. I shouldn't have eaten your weapon, she whispered. Past Se-hoon stood there, useless. Words caught in his throat, pure agony painted on her face. Tears mixing with rain. The blacksmith and the hero, sharing a quiet, just two broken souls standing in the ruins of everything they fought for. Snap back to reality. Someone's calling his name. He shakes off the ghost of the past. Present. The dean takes command. Listen up. Here's how this goes down. Kim sets the timer. 90 minutes. The objective? Craft an item. Something compatible with the sword. But Kim's fist tightens. There's a catch. A fireball erupts in his palm. Alchemy smelting only. He gestures to a table loaded with materials. All these ores? Fair game. Use whatever you need. The dean and vice director are your judges. No pressure, right? Just create a masterpiece. Don't embarrass yourselves. And go. The clock starts ticking for the blacksmith duo. Se-hoon straps on his apron, mind racing. Alchemy smelting relies on pure mana control. Suddenly, Blondie chimes in. You gonna stare all day or actually work? Excuse me? Se-hoon turns. You talking to me? Who else? But before Se-hoon can clap back, Kim shuts it down. Hans Barmat. Zip it. Focus on the exam, not the chatter. Hans mutters an apology. But Se-hoon catches the name. Barmat? It finally clicks. The resemblance is undeniable. Our MC realizes this guy isn't just a lookalike. He's the judge's son. The blonde rich kid realizes his cover is blown and scoffs, acting like the whole situation is beneath him. Smirking like he owns the place, he confirms it. Yup, he's the vice director's spawn. Then he has the nerve to compare himself to Lee Se-hoon, flexing his pedigree and superior mana with total disdain. The blonde challenger starts cherry-picking his crafting materials. He grips a glowing blue ore and boldly declares the exam is over before it even started. The judges clock his picks. Lazulite and henna milk. High-tier mana stuff. Professor Kim starts sweating, knowing how tricky water mana can be. It's super sensitive to fire and a nightmare to smelt. But the vice director waves it off like, that's ancient history, claiming alchemy has evolved. The professor pushes back, explaining that even with new tech, smelting times are totally unpredictable, usually taking about 30 minutes. But the vice director just flashes a confident grin. He knows exactly how this plays out. He brags that his boy, Hans, can speedrun any ore synthesis in under 30 minutes. Right on cue, Hans fires up his ability. The professor is floored by the resonant synthesis happening so fast. This is next-level skill that even second years can't touch. Suddenly, it hits Professor Kim like a truck. The time limit, the method, it was all rigged from the start. The whole exam was tailored for Hans. Kim silently curses Michael's dirty tactics. Meanwhile, the dean keeps his eyes on our main character. He trusts the kid's gut. Lee Se-hoon finally reveals the two materials he grabbed for the showdown. The judges gasp. Is that hydrite and hwahong sak? The vice director scoffs, claiming the kid has too much ego and zero self-awareness, saying he doesn't know his own limits. Across the room, young Hans just watches the drama unfold. With a look of pure disgust, he wonders if his rival picked those flashy ores just to flex on him. He calls our hero a straight-up fool, convinced his mana level is way too low to handle hwahong sak. Smirking, Hans thinks this victory is going to be a cakewalk, but suddenly, his face drops. An intense orange glow erupts from our hero. A system window pops up. Bond engraving ability activated. Bond engraving harmony is live. He instantly equips the Iron of Harmony onto his right arm. It pulses with searing heat. With a grin, the protagonist's entire arm gets engulfed in spectacular flames. Hans gets ticked off, cursing his rival for using cheap parlor tricks. But our hero is about to prove this power is the real deal. He manipulates the fire like a master, levitating the ores and wrapping them in blazing energy. The The 3 oars start spinning midair, smelting right inside the flames. Lee Se-hoon flashes a winning smile. He is in absolute control. The dean and judges are glued to the scene, watching the elemental showdown. The vice director thinks the kid is insane. Everyone knows rule number 1, use pure mana for resonance. Forcing elemental mana? That's a one-way ticket to an explosion. Wearing a twisted grin, the man eagerly waits for the inevitable disaster. But shocker, our protagonist is controlling the inferno with absolute perfection. Meanwhile, Hans is still stuck on his slow-motion alchemy grind. The vice director and the rest are stunned by the kid's massive firepower. The flame energy suddenly condenses. It morphs into a brand new piece of gear. The system chimes in. Process complete. The Hwaji armament is forged. The 3 judges are left jaw-dropped by the masterpiece they just witnessed. The vice director is in denial, wondering how the hell he pulled that off. It's a rare-grade fire sheath, boasting a powerful wildfire ability. Hans, still mid-craft, is shook that his rival finished speedrun style. It shouldn't be possible. Using elemental mana like that usually guarantees a total meltdown. Hans starts second-guessing everything as he struggles to keep his alchemy in check. Suddenly, he realizes his ore fusion is going off the rails. His dad screams desperately for him to abort. Attribute mana is unstable. But it's too late. Hans gets swallowed up by wild, out-of-control, blue energy. The mana spikes higher and higher, and the kid is helpless to stop the boom. With a sound like shattering glass, the ore in his hands disintegrates. Then, a massive blast of water mana floods the entire exam hall. Later, back at the metallurgy department, the higher-ups debrief the disaster. The room is littered with shards of exploded ore. The blonde Nepo baby just stares at the ground, looking completely defeated. Our protagonist watches in silence. Only one of them was getting that recommendation. Head in his hands, Professor Kim sighs over the mess. Things just got way more complicated. It's a tragedy, really. In any other timeline, one of these kids might have actually snagged the top freshman title. Hans Barmott hits the deck, clutching his arm like it's on fire. The mana explosion messed him up bad, leaving his hand shaking uncontrollably. The crushing reality sets in. He got stomped without landing a single hit. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the vice director pushes to scrap the whole test, blaming the accident. But the professor isn't having it. He pins the blame squarely on Hans Barmott's sloppy technique. Michael shoots a smug grin, taunting the old man. You care more about stats than the students, don't you? The vice director shoots out of his chair, claiming the whole setup smells fishy from the jump. He drops the facts. The academy record for resonance speed is 5 minutes flat. So how does a total noob hit resonance the exact second he triggers his mana? It doesn't add up. Our boy stands there, face blank, completely unbothered. He breaks it down. Alchemy smelting isn't about forcing your will onto the metal. It's about tapping into the ore's DNA and waking up its dormant soul. That's exactly what he just pulled off pure alchemy. Internally, he knows. This technique is going to be the meta in a few years, so why hide it? But he's not wasting breath explaining it to this boomer who only knows how to bark orders. The vice director is clueless. Flashing a nasty sneer, the old guy calls him out straight up. Cheater. He scoffs, claiming a random nobody could never craft a rare-grade weapon without pulling a fast one. Our hero's eyes narrow. Excuse me? What did you just say? Suddenly, the dean cuts in, calling the whole argument a joke. The vice director nods along, demanding they disqualify the kid and redo the test. But get this, she completely ghosts him and breezes right past him. She heads straight for the table, and the professor watches, stunned, as she reaches for the artifact. Zero hesitation. The dean grabs the fire sheath our main character forged. Holding the weapon, she puts on a serious face, calling the situation absurd. But then, is that drool? A literal drop of saliva spills from her mouth as she stares at the item like it's a snack. She points a finger at the boy and says his name. Then, with crazy eyes, she drops a bombshell request. Can I have a bite, or just one lick? The professor and the vice director are floored. They're frozen in shock. The frame shifts to a chibi-style comedy shot showing just how awkward this whole mess just got. Cut to that afternoon downtown. Our MC is replaying the day's events. He strolls through the campus, cool as a cucumber. He starts critiquing the sheath in his head, figuring the quality is decent, but the tuning was a bit rough. He brushes it off though, because he's got bigger fish to fry. A smirk creeps across his face as he pictures the vice director's reaction, ignoring the weird looks from passers-by. Suddenly, he freezes. That name, Barmott. It rings a bell. He digs through his memories, trying to pinpoint where he's heard it before. Boom, a flashback from the future hits him. Luz, complaining about armor that blew up in her face. She points to a nasty scar, cursing the incompetent blacksmith who forged that junk back in the day. Back then, he just listened to her vent. Now, the pieces click. The scumbag who scarred Luz was none other than Hans Barmott. Originally, The plan was to link up with the three hounds and set them straight immediately. But smiling, he realizes the rush is over. If he keeps Hans on a leash now, that tragedy with his friend never happens. Problem solved. Meanwhile, high drama in the faculty meeting room. A massive decision drops. A professor from a rival department questions if they're actually serious about appointing the kid. The dean shoots him a razor-sharp glare. You got a problem with that? The guy backpedals. It's not an objection, just friendly advice, since she's a rookie dean. The vice director piles on, claiming she's too fresh and naive for the job. The red-haired dean just sits there, soaking in the complaints with a stone-cold expression. Another guy admits the weapon was dope, but insists they rethink the move. But our professor steps up. You haven't even seen the Fireblade synergy yet. Someone scans the reports, skeptical if that's enough justification. Then the dean drops the mic. That weapon? It's not even 60% of the kid's potential. A subtle smile plays on her lips as she prepares the final verdict. If the cadet's demo doesn't convince you, she announces, I'll resign right here, right now. She puts her title as department head on the line, leaving the room shook. Cut to black. Next up, the Tower of Heroes. 54 years ago, the world as we knew it ended. That was the day it arrived, dragging a hellish legion of demons with it and kicking off a global apocalypse. To clap back at the darkness, humanity built Babel Academy, the ultimate training ground for the next generation of monster hunters. We cut to the opening ceremony. A speaker takes the podium, hyping up the legacy of Babel heroes, telling these rookies they're next in line for greatness. He rallies the fresh meat to charge into the future, calling it their solemn duty. Our main character locks eyes on the speaker, dissecting every word, realizing that's no ordinary suit, it's Ludwig Schubert, the Emperor of Ascension and the big boss of Babel. To the public, he's a saint, but our MC knows the truth. Schubert's vibe is totally fake. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackles to life. It's time for the rookie showcase. The elite from every college get summoned, and our boy, Lee Se-hoon, swaggers onto the stage. Se-hoon grips his blade, flashing back to his previous life. He remembers how this academy churned out nothing but arrogant jerks. He flashes a smirk, locking into combat mode. Finally, the pieces click together in his head. He understands exactly where that massive ego comes from. The announcer shouts that the target is locked and loaded. Boom! A terrifying mech materializes dead center in the arena. Meet the automaton golem Model 9, a machine packing the punch of a C-rank hero. Se-hoon scans it, no weapons? Must be a pure brawler build. The MC voice booms again. First up to bat is the heavy hitter from the combat college. Give it up for Jake Myers. The kid looks like an ant in that massive coliseum, holding his ground, squaring up against not one, but three mechs. Our MC clocks the face immediately. That's the third son of the prestigious Myers clan. The blonde powerhouse drops into his battle stance, muscles coiled. The mechs lock on, crimson eyes glowing with malice. The signal drops, it's go time. The brawl kicks off. Zero hesitation, the metal beast rushes Jake like a freight train, swinging for the fences, but Jake weaves through the attack like it's nothing. Now, the squad coordinates a strike, but he's untouchable, dancing around their metal fists. He drifts across the floor, narrowly missing a bone-crushing slam. Cocky grin on his face, he announces, my turn. Then, he launches himself straight at the metal giant, for a brutal clapback. He chambers a fist, loading up every ounce of strength he's got. Bam! One hit, clean contact. The impact sends the heavy machine flying across the arena like a rag doll. The crowd goes wild, jaws on the floor. Jake stands there, fist pulsating with energy, proving he's not here to play games. Se-hoon watches, stunned, as a memory unlocks. In the original timeline, Jake died way too young as an A-ranker. But look at him now. He's a once-in-a-decade prodigy at Babel. Se-hoon can't wrap his head around it. With that kind of juice, how did he cap at A-rank before? Jake's eyes flare golden. He winds up to end this show. He unleashes a wicked spinning kick, shouting, game over. The bot shatters into confetti. The impact is so insane it tears open a vacuum vortex, sucking in the scrap metal. When the dust settles, only the golem's crushed head remains on the pavement. Jake smirks, satisfied. Whew, nice warm-up, he quips. Up in the booth, the announcer is totally gagged and can barely speak. He starts gushing over the performance, trash canning a C-rank threat in seconds. Insane. That's the #1 cadet for you. Jake waves like a celeb while the crowd screams his name in a frenzy. Se-hoon thinks, show off. He really hyped them up. The next fighter is gonna feel the heat. Next up, the ace from the Air Support College takes the spotlight. Se-hoon instantly clocks her identity. Yeah, she won't sweat the pressure. That's Erika Ino, future S-rank legend wielding mythic tier gear, but her story ends in tragedy. She turns into a demon and gets purged by her own kin. A ticking time bomb of corruption. Best to stay far away from that train wreck. Suddenly, Erika whips her head around and stares right at him. Se-hoon freezes. He's totally shook. Why is she mean-mugging me? Then, The speakers blare again. Her target isn't normal. It's a special edition tank model with 1.5 times the standard defense, and the crowd leans in. How will she handle this? Erica lifts a cage. Inside sits a crow with glowing sapphire eyes, matching her own gaze. As ominous dark energy swirls around her, she flicks her wrist, opening the cage door, and the crow launches into the air, wings spreading wide. It screeches, diving straight for the metal giant. Sehun squints. That ain't no normal bird. The mech sensors scream threat, and it tracks the target high in the arena sky, raising its massive armored arms to intercept. The bot hunkers down, locking into full tank mode. Even Lee Si-hoon is sweating, thinking that armor looks practically impenetrable. It's built to survive. But the summoner girl? She's ice cold. She signals her pet to wrap this up, fast. Instantly, that little crow starts warping, shifting from feathers to straight-up living steel. It morphs into this terrifying armored knight, with eyes glowing like high beams. The transformation locks in, and boom, a winged warlord is hovering there, radiating pure menace. Zero hesitation. It nosedives into a blur of black feathers and dark energy, a spinning drill of death that smashes right into the mech. Our boy is floored jaw on the ground at that level of DPS. The bot's chest starts glowing red-hot, and crack, the armor shatters. There is a massive, gaping hole where its core used to be. Total system failure. Sparks fly as the machine dies, while the summon just ghosted poof, back to being a tiny crow wreathed in blue fire. It lands gently on her finger like nothing happened. The crowd loses their minds over that flex, and worships her power level. Meanwhile, Jake Myers looks salty, knowing his turn is gonna look mid compared to that. Then, the moment we've been waiting for. The PA system calls out the tech college's top dog, our main character. Supervisor Ludwig leans in, eyes glued to the stage. He's thinking this freshman class is actually cracked, but worries the kid might choke under pressure. Reinhardt cuts in, though he is 100% sure the kid's got this. The stands are buzzing. Everyone's asking the same thing. Can he top what we just saw? In one smooth motion, our hero rips his blade from the scabbard. He is locked and loaded, staring down the arena with laser focus. The system UI pops up, flashing stats for his blade and that mysterious fire sheath. Two students in the back are freaking out. A rookie with a rare rank weapon? That is unheard of, but the haters call it weak. The vice director is grinning like a Cheshire cat, thinking fate just handed him a win. He is practically drooling over the headmaster chair already. Dean Ryuna? She's stone-faced, watching every pixel, looking pretty grim. The announcer cues up Model 10, but our boy shuts that down instantly. No, he demands Model 8, but decked out in full defensive plating. The announcer is totally lost, questioning his own hearing. Is this kid crazy? Model 8 is already B-rank hero-level material, and he wants it buffed? The announcer's sweating, wondering if the kid is trying to troll the exam. Out of nowhere, Professor Kim steps into the ring. I brought the toy you asked for. He unveils the tanked-up mech, and the announcer can't believe the turnaround time. Kim steps back to let them cook, as our hero squares up. The white-haired mentor watches from across the field, silent as a grave. But that smirk says it all. He knows his student is about to wreck house. The vibe is clear. Go ahead, kid. Destroy it. The announcer has given up on logic and just screams, fight. It is showtime. The main event kicks off. Kim crosses his arms, laser focused on the carnage to come. Dean Ryuna leans forward, her expression tight. She doesn't want to miss a frame. Even Jake Myers is leaning over the railing, curious if the rookie can actually walk the talk. Lee Si-hoon flashes a grin. Time to see if he can live up to the hype. Boom. Flames of 5 different colors erupt from his sword hilt, like a volcanic explosion. He stares down the giant mech, his blade screaming with a blazing aura. Jake is losing it, thinking this is sick. But Hans Barmit, total buzzkill, calling it a cheap fireworks display. What can a guy with 0 mana even do? He sneers as Si-hoon twists the fire. Those flames are unstable, conflicting elements that should blow the user's hand off. But he jams them into the sheath, compressing the chaos until it turns blood red. His eyes flare up, charge complete. The bot detects a nuke-level threat and deploys its shield. Too late. Si-hoon unleashes wildfire. A tsunami of red energy detonates. The compressed mana screams out, leaving the other students paralyzed with shock. All 5 colors vent at once in a chaotic storm. One swing. That's all it takes, and the impact is catastrophic. Pure, unadulterated destruction. The guys in the stands can't even find words. The announcer is terrified, thinking, what is wrong with this maniac? Smoke clears, and only our boy is left standing. Dust settles over the ruined arena as he slowly, precisely slides his blade back home. Click. He exhales hard, wiping a bead of sweat while staring at the massive crater he just carved into the floor. Maybe I went a little overboard with the juice, he thinks. The announcer is literally shaking, totally speechless after that display of raw power. He calls for the cleanup crew, wrapping up the top cadet evals. Cut to later, the dean herself walks into the room. Our guy immediately apologizes for absolutely trashing the auditorium during the fight. She scolds him for lacking control, but he's zoning out, wondering what her actual angle is. He cuts the small talk. Did you call me here just to lecture me? She shakes her head. Not even close. Suddenly, she's fidgeting, stepping closer to him with this weird, nervous energy. She's trying to get to the point. He keeps a stoic face, but internally, he is completely lost on what's happening. The dean clears her throat, blushing a little, and drops the bomb. She offers to pay 10 times the market value. He's stunned by the number. Then she drops the real ask. She wants to buy his gear. Our MC is floored. Did I hear that right? But before he can process it, boom. A holographic screen pops up. Bond formed with Dean Ryu Unha. She is totally fangirling over the equipment. System confirms. Bond level 1 established. Lee Si-hoon is surprised in his past life. Grinding this relationship took way longer. He grins, thanking his lucky stars. Huge opportunity. He clasps his hands together. Ability activate. Bond extraction. Blue energy surges as the screen rips the Bond essence right out of her. Time seems to freeze. The loot? Gluttonous iron. A high-tier material that literally eats other metals. Holding the glowing red ore, he confirms the process is done. She asks again about the sale. His answer? Hard pass. She is totally baffled. But before she can argue, Professor Kim crashes the party, knocking on the door. He steps in with urgent news. The director wants the ceremony started. Like, right now. He asks to borrow Cadet Lee Si-hoon for the event. The redhead looks visibly bummed out. She sighs, accepting defeat. Our hero waves a casual catch you later and exits with the prof. Left alone, the dean freezes until her stomach lets out a massive, hungry roar. Cut to the heart of Babel Academy, the intricate, ancient Marduk mansion. The professor leads our boy down a hallway dripping with luxury. He drops a warning. Behave yourself. The director let that auditorium mess slide, so don't push it. Standing before the massive doors, he whispers that the director is on a god-tier level. The young blacksmith just smirks. Relax, I got this. They enter, and a booming voice greets him. So, you must be the cadet. Lee Si-hoon. It's Ludwig, the Emperor of Ascension, the big boss of Babel Academy. In the previous timeline, this guy single-handedly crushed one of the 6 great demon gods. Our hero thinks, yeah, he's the real deal. The director shifts focus. That gear you showed off earlier? Interesting, but lacking. The young blacksmith feels a spike of irritation at the old man's dig. Inside, he is seething. He honestly feels like throwing the sword right at his face. But Ludwig continues. To honor his talent, he grants him 2 special rewards. Our guy blinks. 2 things? Really? He doesn't hesitate. I want to boost my mana, and I want to upgrade my memory. The director waves a hand. Golden energy swirls, materializing the loot right out of thin air. A crest blazes. Power radiates from them. The heavy inkstone, the dream ivory, both legit hero-grade items. The MC is shook. The stone is rare enough, but that ivory? That's basically a myth. He grins. Tricky to use, sure, but he's already got a plan. Ludwig watches him closely. Satisfied with the gift? Our protagonist flashes a confident smirk. They're perfect. Outside, a mysterious voice echoes from the shadows. What are you thinking, old man? Giving 2 rewards isn't your style. Ludwig puffs his pipe. The kid has the capacity. He can handle it. He's got depth, like an old soul trapped in a kid's body. Ludwig's eyes twinkle. There's more to that blacksmith. Even I can't see the bottom of his potential. Cut to an external shot of Babel Academy. Inside the classroom, our hero strides in. A new classmate waves. Someone asks Hans about lunch, but the blonde guy declines. Got plans with a senior. His buddy is absolutely losing it, hyping up the fact that they're about to meet the legendary top-ranked junior who walks around like he owns the place. The guy starts flexing his connection to the upperclassmen like it's a backstage pass. A random classmate tries to ride the clout train, begging to tag along, but instantly chokes on his words. Why? Because our main character, Lee Se-hoon, is looming in the doorway, eyes blazing with terrifying golden mana. He locks eyes with the group, his face stone cold. The vibe in the room instantly dies. It's dead silent, you could hear a pin drop. Nobody dares to even breathe. Se-hoon shifts that killer glare straight to his rival, Hans Barmet. Hans looks visibly ticked off, standing up and snapping. What the hell is up with that face? Cool as a cucumber, the young blacksmith smirks and drops a bomb. Looks like Hans finally figured out where he belongs beneath him. Hans clenches his fist, shaking with rage. Getting owned by a total nobody? That stings. Suddenly, the door swings open. A new guy strides in, ordering everyone to take their seats. It's the professor in charge, and he wastes 0 time. Everyone's here? Good. Class is in session. Since it's day 1, they're kicking things off with self-intros. The master unveils a mysterious box, revealing the projection alloys for today's test. He grabs a chunk of ore, explaining this stuff is insanely reactive, like dozens of times more sensitive to mana than normal metal. You pour your mana in, visualize a weapon, and boom, it manifests instantly. It's basically 3D printing with your mind. Sehun is actually impressed. He knows this professor isn't ranked in the top 100 artisans just for show. The guy's legit. But then his expert vision kicks in. He spots a flaw in the weapon the professor just forged. To the young blacksmith's eyes, that binding stone is a disaster waiting to happen. Major design flaw. The prof continues, explaining that because the alloy is so hypersensitive, you can't actually use these things in real combat. That's why they call the result an alter ego. It's a reflection of you, your introduction to the class. Then he drops a warning. These weapons go on display for a full week, so don't embarrass yourselves. One student is freaking out over the price tag, thinking Barmet's family must be loaded to afford practice like this. Speaking of Hans, he steps up and flexes his mana, conjuring a massive golden sword, radiating blinding light. Sehun, he's watching this light show, looking totally bored. In his eyes, nobody here has an ounce of real talent. Next up, the professor finally calls Lee Sehun's name. It's showtime. Sehun figures since he's already the top dog, there's zero point in hiding his strength. He's gonna do this anyway, so he might as well go full throttle and shock the system. Eyes locked in, he prepares to unleash hell. Suddenly, a massive shockwave of blue energy explodes outward, and a bizarrely shaped weapon materializes in his grip. Cut to the main hall, a huge crowd is already gathering. Someone points out Sehun's weapon on display. Two students start trash-talking, laughing it off. They say he's next level, but he's just a rookie. One sneers. The buddy nods along with the hate. They keep scanning the display until they spot the description card. It explains that this thing absorbed 19 alloys. The school had to display it. Students are whispering, it's a fluke, or maybe the administration is just trying to hype him up as some fake genius. But then, a black-haired girl steps in, looking dead serious, and says, "You guys are wrong." A blonde guy walks up next to her, nodding in agreement. He drops the truth on the haters. Even with that much alloy, it wasn't enough to contain Sehun's power. Cut to the forge workshop. Sehun is grinding hard, but suddenly, he looks stunned. The young blacksmith just had a breakthrough mid-swing. Watching him, an instructor notes that there wasn't even a 1/100th of a second error in his timing. Absolute perfection. Another instructor wonders, what do I even teach a kid this gifted? Smirking, he decides to just let the prodigy be and focus on the normal students. Class ends, but Sehun stays behind in the dim workshop, organizing his gear. He's dripping sweat, exhausted, but the grind doesn't stop. His determination is scary. He pauses, critiquing the fresh blades on his workbench. Suddenly, the instructor pops up, asking, "You gonna smash those swords again like last time?" Sehun spins around, startled to see the teacher. Watching from the shadows, the man pleads with him not to destroy the work they actually need to submit those for grading. Sehun looks confused. The master explains the hustle. The academy gets funding based on selling student weapons to the outside world. Then the instructor gets real. What's the problem, your body or your mana? Sehun cracks a smile, admitting, right now, it's this weak body. He vents that he's trying to forge high-level training gear and needs to smelt heavy ore, but he just doesn't have the muscle for it yet. The master strokes his chin, thinking of a fix for the stamina issue. Then it hits him. Forget gym time, he says. Getting magical buffs is way faster. Sehun grins. He never even thought about that, mostly because he avoided buffs like the plague in his past life. But now, he's back in the past with a weak frame. A buff is exactly what he needs to melt that ore. Grateful for the tip, he bows respectfully to the master. He acknowledges the tip, then flips the script. He spots a flaw in the instructor's technique and calls it out cold. Drop the mana input by 70%. Pinpoint the impact. Pure technical precision. The rookie drops this knowledge like it's obvious, radiating pure, unshakable confidence. The teacher is floored. Did a freshman just school him? He stares at his hammer, speechless, letting the words sink in. Cut to a pristine blue sky morning breaks over the academy. Babel runs on freedom. You want to cross-train in other colleges? Go for it. MC hops on the transit. The stakes are high though, 3 fail marks and you're kicked to the curb. But hey, freedom implies consequences. Next stop, the ore department. He steps onto the platform and immediately locks eyes with Erica, that powerhouse from the demo. She's icing him out with a glare. Then her sidekick jabs a finger at him, barking at him to move. Seriously? MC looks around. Pretty sure they're blocking his path. The lackey gets heated, but our guy doesn't flinch. He just returns a gaze that could freeze hell over. Erica crosses her arms, cutting through the tension. Where are you headed? Enchantment department. Her minion gasps, but Erica flips the script. I'll take you there. Her friend is left slack-jawed. The lackey tries to intervene, stammering about some schedule. She tunes him out completely. Go by yourself. The guy panics. Senior students are waiting on her. She hits him with the Ice Queen stare. Not interested. Shut down. Our MC watches this drama unfold, totally clueless about the politics at play. They strut off together, leaving her entourage eating their dust. So, she asks, what's your business with magic? Buffs, he shoots back. Specifics? He keeps it simple. Something to boost raw physical stats. She pitches barrier magic. He raises a brow. Isn't that just for tanking hits? She smirks. Depends on how you wield it. She flares her aura, and energy chains manifest. Humming with power, she hands him an envelope. Try to rip this. He exerts force, but the paper is tougher than steel. Impressive. He analyzes the flow. It retains texture but solidifies under kinetic stress. Perfect for smelting, she notes. The mana structure feels weirdly familiar to him. She starts offering an intro to her relative, the professor, but he cuts her off mid-sentence. Got it. The envelope disintegrates in his grip. Erica's eyes go wide. He deconstructed her family's signature magic in seconds. Impossible. He just grins. Thanks for the hack. Barrier magic. Not terrible. He waves a casual goodbye. Go grab lunch with your fan club. He gestures to the stalkers, trailing them. Her crew rushes up, panicked. Are you hurt? They look down at the confetti on the ground. Shreds of an exclusive noblesse invitation. That was her recruit attempt. Gone. She pauses. Hold on a second. Cut to the enchantment department HQ. The gossip mill is already spinning about Erica and the outsider. He finds the whispers hilarious. If she was crushing on him, the system would have flagged a bond by now. But first, business. To get into this class, he has to clear the entrance exam. The proctor leads him deep into the woods. Zero instructions, pure confusion. Some other kid is already whining nearby. I can't find anything out here. Is this a scavenger hunt? Man, what a hassle. They trek through the silence. Suddenly, our boy stops and slams his foot down. He sensed a distortion. Crack. The scenery fractures like glass, revealing two stunned proctors hiding in a stealth field. One of the observers nearly chokes. You passed. Our guy tilts his head, totally oblivious to the feat he just pulled. Can I speak now? Back in the office, Professor Robert Perry leans back. So, Erica has her sights on the cadet from Borisipa. Huh. The assistant slides a phone across the desk, showing the professor a screen that demands attention. One look at the photo of the duo, and it clicks. That's exactly why she's slumming it in the beginner's course. Thanks to that leak, applications have tripled instantly. But the professor isn't celebrating. He's actually pretty salty about it. Since the Inu heiress pulled strings to get in, he decides to flip the script this year. He's throwing them straight into the deep end with the labyrinth of dazzlement. It's a nasty sensory trap that leaves victims wandering in circles like zombies. Technically, it's a basic barrier, but if you're clueless about enchantments, you're walking blind. The man is still racking his brain, trying to figure out how the rookie navigated that maze solo. He can't wrap his head around the fact that the kid cracked the code, running purely on gut instinct. Shaking off the shock, he addresses the squad. Congrats, you all survived round 1. Immediately, a redhead dude volunteers as tribute for the second test. He's grinning, thinking this is his golden ticket, to finally get Erica to look his way. The prof drops the mission. Dismantle a live magic circle. No pressure. The guy reaches for the glowing, spiderweb barrier, pulsating with a magical arachnid at its core. The spider skitters away the second it smells mana, regenerating the web instantly. The kid starts panicking, wondering if his mana tank is running on empty. Screw strategy. He decides to brute force the spider with raw speed and power. The clock stops at 2 minutes and 23 seconds. The prof sighs, hit the books, kid. The redhead mumbles a thanks, looking like he just swallowed a lemon. Then, the dominoes start falling. Student after student takes a shot at the circle, and they all crash and burn. It's a total wipeout. The professor rubs his temples. Keep this up, and you're all getting demoted to the remedial class. Next up, he calls Erica Inu. She steps into the spotlight, eyes locked in, ready to show this lobby how a real pro operates. A shimmering mana projection of herself manifests over the web. She focuses, and snap, the spider disintegrates instantly. The crowd gasps at the insane speed. She flips her hair with a confident smirk. That's why she's the Academy's top draft pick. 22 seconds, the master notes, though he implies she was holding back. Finally, he calls for Lee Se-hoon, the last one to run the gauntlet. Our boy walks up, and the gallery is unimpressed. He looks like a total NPC right now. But then he flips the script, crouching down to inspect the magic circle like a crime scene investigator. The class is baffled, whispering, why isn't he casting? But with his blacksmith vision, he analyzes the barrier. It's built like a solid wall. He realizes the web heals unless you hit it with perfectly balanced triggers. The professor watches from the back, thinking, what on earth is this kid doing on the floor? But Erica cuts in, basically telling him, let him cook. The prof pauses, eyes narrowing, deciding to let the scene play out. The kid touches the web. He's not fighting it. He's boxing the energy in. He fires a precision flame strike at the core, and boom, the thing shatters in a massive energy burst. Our protagonist stays kneeling while the room goes dead silent. He punches the ground mic drop moment. Circle neutralized. Easy. In his head, he's already moved on. He didn't just break it. He forged a new equation to delete the formula. He stands up, victory written all over his face, staring down the stunned classmates. The assistant checks the watch. 7 minutes and 45 seconds. But the master waves it off. The time is irrelevant, because next time, he'll do it in a heartbeat. The kid didn't just understand the barrier. He rewrote the source code. Erica stares at him, eyes wide. She's officially intrigued. She gets literal chills, imagining what kind of god-tier gear he could forge combining that brain with blacksmithing. Later, a notification pings the college server. The rookie wants to try intermediate forging. The assistant wonders who's going to volunteer to babysit. Suddenly, his phone blows up with notifications. Every professor wants in. Well, except the vice director's squad. They're still salty and ghosting the sign-up sheet. With a stacked list of applicants, the assistant prepares to pick a winner when a new message slides in that nearly stops his heart. It's the dean. The boss herself is coming down to watch the forging session. Cut to the workshop, and our hero jumps as the red-haired powerhouse walks in. She's here to witness the hype firsthand. Our boy flashes a confident grin. Well, if the boss is watching, guess I better put on a show. The first rule of mastering heavy rock? You gotta learn how to tame the beast before you even swing a hammer. But here comes the nightmare stage, the mystic vial technique. You shove that dense ore into a void of total darkness and force it to liquefy. Then you strip away the junk using nothing but raw mana, spiking the purity levels through the roof. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. Our MC knows he's literally rewriting reality at an atomic level. Meanwhile, the dean watches like a hawk, dead silent, eyes laser-focused on his every move. He hesitates his 25%, really? His hard cap right now? If he shrinks that ore down any more, it's going to be too weak for the masterpiece he's visualizing. Time for phase 2 of this brutal grind. He steels himself as a blinding crimson aura, surges up, completely engulfing his hand in pure, raw power. Our boy doesn't just hold the fire, he puppets a massive inferno like it's nothing, filtering through the roaring red blaze to snag only the perfect embers. That's the legendary Hoya's Flame, the ultimate stabilizer. Now for step 3, a relentless hammer assault, pounding out every single imperfection. The dean realizes that even with fire resistance, he's definitely feeling the burn. She's stunned. How hard did this kid have to grind to reach this insane level of tolerance? Hours bleed away. The sun dips below the horizon, but inside the workshop, the intensity hasn't dropped a single degree. The dean finally cracks, letting out a massive, bored yawn. Night settles in, but she can't tear her eyes away from him, sticking by his side like glue. 4 straight hours of hammering, and the guy hasn't taken a single breath. The rock gorges on the flames until it hits capacity, finally triggering the transformation. The warping stops dead, and a pitch-black sludge oozes out of the finished ore. He instantly liquefies the processed rock to prep for the next phase. He dumps the molten liquid into a mold, leaving the dean floored. He's casting, not forging. The redhead watches closely, totally unable to read his game plan. Step 4. He deploys a barrier-busting formula to weave a mana circuit from scratch. Boom, massive power surges, locking the energy circuit inside the mold. The system pings. The obsidian prayer beads are done, crafted with a legendary technique. Another screen pops up. He just unlocked a brand new skill. The young smith stares down at his masterpiece, sitting in the shattered remains of the mold. It's a rare-grade bracelet that sucks up the user's mana to trigger the devastating explosion skill. A huge grin spreads across his face, mission accomplished. But then, a weird noise kills the vibe, and he notices the dean looks rough. Her face is flushed, she's sweating bullets, and clutching her gut tight, leaving our guy totally lost. He shuts his eyes, feeling the awkward tension radiating off her. Hand over her heart, she wonders if she's experiencing some rare, magical resonance. Our hero confirms it, scratching the back of his neck sheepishly. He teases that if she plays her cards right, she might unlock a set bonus. Then he drops the bomb. He can't give her the bracelet, sorry, but he offers her a snack as a consolation prize. He looks dead serious, clearly plotting something. Suddenly, red energy flares up, and she triggers her unique skill, Soul Furnace. She devours the snack, her eyes lighting up. It's actually delicious, and he is shook. The dean starts raving about how the ore tastes exactly like crispy fried tempura. Our MC takes the win, wondering if he's actually starting to understand her bizarre taste buds. Figuring this is prime time to boost their affinity, he smiles. But the redhead sighs, annoyed she has to eat a snack, when the raw ingredients are sitting right there. She presses him. When is he going to process those other Rare items he's hoarding? The smith shuts her down, not for sale. She asks if it's a money issue. He grins. Nah, he's saving the stash for the subjugation class. Hunger is the best spice, after all. He swears that the second he crafts something worthy of her level, she gets first dibs. She takes the deal. He checks if they're done for the day, and she gives a nod. She tells him to chill, the staff will handle the cleanup. Massive relief washes over him. But then, the room spins, and he realizes his tank is empty. His legs give out, and he collapses from total burnout, hitting the floor hard. The dean panics, rushing over to check if he's okay. He forces a smile, admitting he messed up his stamina management during the craft. Rookie mistake. She offers to haul him back to the dorms, dropping a weird question. You scared of heights? A sly grin creeps onto his face, and he denies it instantly. Suddenly, he scoops her up in his arms, telling her to hang on tight. They're out of here. The rookie blacksmith blasts out the window, cradling the dean as jets of flame propel them skyward. She's shook, can't believe that weird mold actually juiced her stats this hard. Meanwhile, he grins, realizing that things are hitting different, way different from his previous life. High above on a rooftop, Erika Inu tracks their aerial escape, quietly processing the madness. Cut to later, the girl is posted up outside, confused why our main character is ghosting her. Suddenly, the Academy forums go wild with a pic of her waiting for 3 straight hours. Nobody gets it. Comments are messy. One user guesses she's waiting for Lee Si-hoon, but the replies clown him for it. Chilling in his room, the MC scrolls past the drama, totally baffled. He shrugs it off, figuring if it's actually urgent, she'll slide back into his life. Some other time. Just then, a fresh instructor strides into the room, introducing himself to the squad as Ricardo. Flashing a grin, he drops a bomb. Last person to hit the training center owes him 20 laps around the track. Instant panic. The students stampede out the door. Our hero stands there, completely lost, thinking he signed up for a lecture, not cardio. No time to process, a classmate screams at him to move. No questions asked. The young blacksmith bolts through the academy halls, chasing the pack. But just as you'd guess, he finishes dead last. The instructor points to the track, time to pay up those 20 laps. Letting out a heavy sigh, the kid gears up for his punishment run. Pounding the pavement, he realizes his stamina is absolute trash, wondering if he'll have any energy left to smelt ore later. Ricardo claps his hands, calling attention for the actual lesson. He reveals why he flipped the script from theory to physical. The fire sword hunters are on the prowl. They target blacksmiths, forging fire weapons. The protagonist realizes that when the chips are down, his only true defense is his own body. That's why, the instructor declares, this class is now about learning self-preservation. The students nod in agreement. Today's subject? Swords. Meanwhile, our hero is wheezing on the floor, telling himself to stay sharp. But first, he knows he's got to buff his stamina somehow. He glances at his wrist. The bracelet's stats are actually legit. It sucks in mana to get heavier, plus it has gravity manipulation hacks. His stats are up by an average of 5 points, and he swears to get ripped before the year ends. While he's recovering on the ground, the instructor yells for him to quit resting and get over there. Still flat on his back, the kid triggers the Ring of Burst to instant recharge his energy. The master is stunned, seeing the exhausted kid suddenly look totally fresh. Tossing him a sword, he demands a demo to see if the rookie has any raw talent. Our hero struggles to even move though, fighting the massive weight of the stone bracelet. Even with sloppy form, he wonders if he should bust out that one specific move. Suddenly, he snaps into action, lunging at the instructor. The class whispers that he's slow, but his form looks okay. The instructor, however, sees something else. His stance is top tier, because the blade naturally finds its path. Still, the veteran notices a flaw. The kid is too eager, rushing the strike. He winds up to counter and expose the gap in the student's guard. Suddenly, the protagonist's eyes flare up, sensing the incoming threat. The instructor freezes, shocked by the visual, and aborts his attack instantly. He sees a terrifying vision. If he had followed through, the kid's blade would have caught him, dead in the face. It rattles him. He would have taken a direct hit. Now, with steel hovering at the man's neck, our hero locks eyes with him, unblinking. The master questions his own sanity. Did a rookie just scare him into seeing hallucinations? Sweating bullets? He asks, where the hell he picked up that sword style. Rubbing the back of his head, the kid grins. Oh, I just made it up like 10 minutes ago. Flashback to him trying to shake down a broke old man for a debt. The old guy offered a secret technique instead of cash to get the MC off his back. But the kid lies to the instructor, claiming he just binge-watched hero fight compilations. The master is confused, but Ricardo smiles, asking if the blacksmith wants to learn how to throw down for real. He scribbles a recommendation letter for the body control course. Letter in hand, our protagonist looks dead serious. He rolls up to the spot and catches a man screaming at a blonde girl, claiming he's got 0 to teach her. That's Ma Guangsu, retired S-rank hero and a former client. The kid is absolutely floored. That broke gambling addict who owed him money is a professor here. He steps into the room and drops his name. The blonde kid drops Professor Ricaros' name like a VIP pass, but the master's face instantly twists into a scowl. Trying to flex, the blonde claims he's the top ranker at Borsapa, but the old man looks about as impressed as a brick wall, eyeballing the kid like he's cheap merchandise. The master asks if he's seriously desperate enough to train here. The kid smirks, doubling down. Fine. The master cuts a deal. Beat our hero, and you're in. One rule. First clean hit takes the glory. The master throws his arm up, slicing the tension. He drops the signal, it's go time. Blondie launches a full-throttle charge, but Lee Se-hoon stands like a statue, wooden blade loose, just waiting for the strike. The professor's watching closely, wondering if that total lack of tension is actually a high-level strat for max agility. The challenger commits to a heavy, game-ending swing, while the master grumbles about hating smart Alex, who play 4D chess before throwing a punch. But our hero's too slick, he ducks the attack with a split-second weave. Se-hoon ghosts behind him, locking him up tight for the counter. The young blacksmith is shocked by the guy's raw power as he struggles to break free. But Se-hoon shifts gears into a judo throw. He launches the rival over his shoulder with zero hesitation. Suddenly, his wrist bracelet flares up. Ring of Burst activates. Azure energy wraps around his arm as he taps into the item's hidden juice to recover. Riding the explosive momentum, he whips the movement around and drives his opponent into the dirt hard. The impact is brutal. The blonde hits the deck and lets out a ragged groan, totally winded. He's sprawled out, staring at the ceiling, totally cooked after taking that slam. The challenger is out cold. Se-hoon flashes a winner's grin and quips, "Guess I was a little faster, huh?" Blondie struggles to his knees, muttering about the hit, while the master watches silently. The professor clears the room. Show's over, folks. The kid remembers the deal. Win to get trained. Se-hoon smirks, pointing out the technicality since the blonde technically got tagged. Maybe he should be the one teaching. The master scoffs, unable to believe a top calc student just got smoked by a Borispol cadet. He grunts, deciding he needs to train the kid just so he doesn't get himself killed out there. Blondie beams, realizing he made the cut. He drops a deep bow, hyped to be the new disciple. The old man waves him off, but Se-hoon holds back. He needs a private word with the boss. Once they're alone, the master demands to see that sword technique Se-hoon flashed the other day. Se-hoon's eyes sharpen. He grips the wooden blade, locking into his stance to demonstrate. He lunges, but the master catches the strike with a bare hand, shattering the wood into splinters instantly. Se-hoon stares at the debris, stunned that was supposed to be a one-hit finisher. The master nods slowly. Concept? Decent. Execution? Garbage. He calls the move weak, looking totally annoyed. He warns Se-hoon that teaching that sloppy form would snap his own limbs. Then comes the promise. He's gonna forge him a new physique, a body tough enough to handle that technique. Se-hoon perks up. So, does this mean I'm enrolled? The master grunts a yes. Se-hoon dips out for the day, leaving the old man thinking about how blunt the kid is. Straight to the point. Outside, Se-hoon's startled when Blondie comes running up behind him. Se-hoon pauses, wondering why the guy's lurking. The blonde just hands over a sleek black envelope. Wanted you to have this. Se-hoon realizes it's an invite to an ultra-exclusive noble circle. It's from Erica. Blondie admits the group is full of stuck-up jerks, but it's a massive opportunity. He smiles, saying it's a thank you gift after all. Se-hoon is the reason he got into the class. Locking in the invite, our MC nods his thanks for the golden ticket. He pivots and keeps it moving, mentally scrolling through his course load. He's eyeing a slot near Borsippa, but right as he's weighing his options, a hand clamps down on his shoulder, snapping him back to reality. A redhead jumps in, demanding his full attention. Caught completely off guard, the young smith's eyes go wide. He has zero clue what's going down. She jabs a finger at the bracelet on his wrist, grilling him on if he crafted it solo. Dead serious, he catches her hand and challenges her. So what if he did? She cracks a grin, offering to enchant the gear. Just like that, a connection sparks with Lee Claude. We're talking Lee Claude, the prodigy who birthed legendary weapons and single-handedly leveled up the enchantment meta. The girl who flipped the industry upside down is shook. That rare ore in his bracelet? It's totally blowing her mind. Cut to a cafe. She's dissecting the item, debating formula injections. She starts spiraling, and our hero pegs her as a total oddball. He asks if the gear is trash, but she corrects him the real issue. She's got way too many ideas for this one piece. She's venting about formula overload, totally paralyzed on which build to choose. The guy tells her to chill. It's all good. She blinks in confusion, but our MC talks her off the ledge, revealing he's got a stash of that material. He mentions a resonance phenomenon, and she goes absolutely feral with hype. Out of nowhere, some rando crashes the party, demanding Lee Si-hun's stats. Lee jumps in with her own intro, flexing that he's the #1 freshman, leaving the guy stunned. But the intruder ignores it, ordering the MC to follow him, claiming he's got critical intel. Lee gets salty, snapping that she was here first. She clocks the intruder as one of Erica's lackeys. Our hero shuts it down, telling the guy to spill the tea right there so he doesn't waste everyone's time. The lackey demands an apology for disrespecting Lady Erica. Cool as ice, the Smith claps back that it was the girl herself, who told him to rip up that invite. The goon admits that tracks, but argues he got summoned by another noble too. The MC grills him. Did Erica actually send you to harass me? The guy admits he went rogue, and Lee is totally over this drama. Smirking, she calls him a liar, and says he's spewing absolute garbage. A flashback exposes the guy serving a young master. She says, everyone knows the tea. Triggered, the lackey leaks a dark aura, growling that being a servant is irrelevant. Our hero cuts him off mid-sentence, reminding him Babel is stacked with people, way more cracked than him. Looking totally bored, the Smith just asks if that's really the case, asking if the lackey is talking about himself. Shadows expand ominously, and the goon screams at him to shut his trap, launching a massive energy hand at full throttle. Unfazed, our MC just casually reaches out toward the incoming blast. Blue energy manifests a dragon that intercepts the hit. Lee screams, totally freaked out. As the attack fizzles, he clocks that it wasn't just mana, a hidden dagger was the medium. The lackey is shook by the counter, wondering how the MC pulled that off. Holding a ribbon-like artifact, the young man just hits him with a casual reply. Smiling, he savors the delicious resonance and triggers his cheat skill, Gluttonous Iron. He thinks a flavor, that rich, is enough to make his eyes roll back in ecstasy. The system interface flashes. High-quality, Gluttonous Iron active, consuming foreign metals. Then, the MC procs Ring of Burst for a surprise counter. The lackey takes the hit dead on, letting out a guttural groan from the impact. Just like that, the dude crumbles to the floor, completely wasted. As the Smith stands over him, Lee snaps his attention back to their previous chat, like the fight never happened. He asks her to recommend a solid lecture from the enchantment department. The redhead blinks, stunned by the sudden mood shift. She processes it, then hypes up the ancient enchantment class, bragging about some god-tier upperclassmen there. Meanwhile, the beaten lackey limps away, clutching his gut and cursing the freshman who just owned him. Suddenly, Erica materializes, demanding to inspect the dagger used against our hero. The guy is paralyzed by her sudden appearance, wondering how long she's been lurking in the shadows. Without hesitation, he hands the blade to the dark-haired noble, bowing with total respect. She tells him to skip the report, she'll handle the family head herself. She inspects the blade, realizing it's rigged with a complex anti-theft enchantment, just as she suspected. She wonders if he reverse-engineered a neutralization skill based on her and the professor's own sorcery. Impressed, she decides to boost his stats, S rank in forging and A rank in sorcery. Back in his dorm, our hero gets a ping about an established affinity with Erica Inu. Smirking, he wonders if she caught the beatdown he just delivered to her lackey. Earlier, staring at his gear, he reckons the daggers were a solid investment. Sure, they look a bit rough around the edges, but for this class, they're going to be absolutely clutch. Our boy is totally checked out, complaining he expected some high-tier gameplay, but got stuck in a tutorial level he already beat. Just then, the professor decides he's done yapping and announces it's time for the real action. He breaks down the mechanics. Metal isn't static. It morphs based on how you tweak the mana arrangement. That structural shift is the secret sauce. It's exactly what gives a weapon its insane versatility. The master locks eyes with the class. That is why a legit blacksmith has to grasp the full, untapped potential of the material. To make it to the top, you need absolute, god-tier control over the metal in your hands. Then, the master drops the daily challenge. Metal deformation practice using iron ingots. The mission? Carve a precise 3-centimeter groove into the metal, then hit reset, and restore it to its pristine state. Our MC clocks that the master actually vibes with the Magitech forging method. He gives the class a strict 10-minute timer. The second the clock starts, panic spreads. Students start whining that their metal is glitched and won't revert to normal, falling into total despair. But our protagonist and his rival, Hans, just lock in. They slap their hands on the ore, triggering a sharp burst of energy, and boom, both of them call time in perfect sync. The professor nods, clearly impressed by the speedrun, and signals them to proceed to phase 2. He displays a specific mana arrangement and orders them to map that exact blueprint onto their own ores. Hans flashes a confident smirk, thinking they're neck and neck, but he's about to take the W this round. Suddenly, the master reveals a new, way more chaotic arrangement for their final showdown. Channeling a sinister dark aura into his hand, the blonde prodigy starts cooking, feeling absolutely untouchable. 9:39 on the clock. He wraps up the job, grinning like he already won, convinced the result is flawless. But the professor's face is stone cold as he calls out, "Hans Warmouth." The master challenges him to revert the ingot back to its base form. Hans freezes, looking like he just lagged out. He attempts the reset, but realizes the mana circuits are completely fried. An instant later, the metal shatters into a pile of scrap. The professor drops the hard truth. His processing method was bugged from the start. Hans immediately starts protesting, salty about the result. The master shuts him down, reminding him that the job demands absolute control over the metal's potential. No room for error. He explains that if you can't restore the arrangement, the gear becomes corrupted trash. That flaw tanks the quality and performance stats. Hans swallows his pride, promising to remember the lesson. Meanwhile, watching from his seat, our MC wonders if his rival even peeped the massive error in the forging process. Then, with a casual but heavy punch, the young smith obliterates his own ingot. But instead of breaking, the metal instantly shifts forms, turning into this fluid, liquid-like substance with a totally unique aesthetic. A nearby student stares, completely shook, wondering if the guy really just called it a day. The professor sharply calls out our hero's name, demanding he run that deformation back one more time. Grinning, the MC claims he only pulled it off because these are cheap, student-grade ingots. The master seems to buy the excuse, agreeing that the metal was extra sensitive. But internally, he knows that's total cap. The kid doesn't even realize the magnitude of his feat. Our hero just shattered a formula established by the legendary Sacred Blacksmith, a code that hasn't been cracked in decades. This formula is the ultimate gatekeeper for all smiths, known as the Truth of Iron. The master thinks it should be impossible for a rookie to bypass it, but if he pulls it off again, he'll be only the second person in history to do so. Cut to a cinematic shot of the sun, dipping below the horizon behind the massive Babel Academy. The master dismisses the class, but signals our MC to hold up for a sec. He hands over a rare item, a little welcome gift for joining Babel Academy. He explains that if the kid absorbs the item's essence, his vermilion flame is going to get a permanent buff. Smiling, our protagonist thanks him, admitting that this is going to be a massive help. Then, the old man asks if he's down to join a minor course he's teaching. The MC pauses, asking if he's talking about fundamentals of armament origins. The master looks caught off guard but confirms, "Yeah, that's the one," noting internally that it's one of the few classes at Babel with an insane, whale-tier budget. Our hero thinks back he'd never heard of this prof before, his timeline reset. But now he realizes this guy is actually a highly respected OG in the field. "So," he says, "I'm in." The master hesitates, asking if he can handle the grind, since he's already signed up for a few other electives. With total chill, the MC shrugs it off, saying that counting this one, it's only 4 classes total. Light work. They shake hands to seal the deal, the master expressing his excitement. But the moment skin touches skin, the system triggers, extracting affinity from the prof and crafting a rare grade item for our hero. Later in his room, he starts theory crafting. If he can farm metal from a person, he could theoretically forge a whole body. But different elemental manas clash inside a host, and for a blacksmith, that's an instant game over. But our protagonist is built different, gripping the fire jade with a look of pure steel. He knows the secret: a mana-starved body drinks up the essence of the vermilion flame like water. His mission as a blacksmith? Hammer a mana circuit straight into his own flesh, solely to house that fire. Sweat pouring, face flushed deep red, the guy looks like he's in absolute agony during this forging ritual. Suddenly, a massive crimson inferno swallows him whole, and with a roar of power, he summons an energy hammer. The young man declares he's finally going to forge himself, and a blinding light detonates. The system pings. Elemental mana boosted, stats skyrocketed, and a new skill unlocked. Exhausted, he starts thinking about spiritual forging magic when a voice snaps at him for wasting materials. Smirking, the girl tells him he'd be a total idiot not to use the resources right in front of him. Our main character nods, realizing he needs to weaponize every single asset. Alone in his room, he vows that this time around, there will be 0 regrets. Morning hits, and back in class, the announcement drops. It is crunch time. They need to put the final polish on their creations. The instructor emphasizes that today's output determines their rank for the entire first semester. The room explodes into action as students dive into their projects with intense focus. In the workshop, our hero inspects his blade and grimaces his body couldn't keep up, leaving the weapon flawed. But he knows chilling out isn't an option, so he grips his hammer with renewed grit. Clang! He strikes, the sword completely engulfed in roaring flames. Hiss! He plunges the glowing blade into the quench tank. Letting out a breath, the young smith checks the result and figures it didn't turn out too shabby. But realizing the clock is ticking on the other tasks, he weighs his next move. The guy decides he'd rather craft one god-tier masterpiece than a bunch of mid-tier junk. He tests the edge it slices through stone like hot butter, proving its insane quality. Suddenly, A weird noise cuts through the air, stopping him dead in his tracks. A vision hits him, a colossal tsunami, the legendary sound of the world ending. Locked in, he remembers. Every time he hears this sound, he cooks up a masterpiece. The sword erupts in blinding white light, evolving into something way deadlier. The system alerts him. Weapon crafted white light, plus a new ability acquired. The status screen confirms the white light sword is superior quality high-grade loot. He figures it's good enough for standard iron, while a classmate stares, jaw on the floor. With a subtle smirk, he realizes his pre-regression skills are slowly coming back online. The other students look totally crushed. One kid looks ready to drop out entirely. Cut to the next day. Our protagonist links up with Liana, and she admits she's shocked he actually invited her. He claims he was just curious about her basics, while she tells him to ignore the crowd. Realizing they're heading to the boonies, the guy asks if this isn't a bit far, but she just rolls her eyes. After the trek, the duo finally pulls up to a hardware store, and she announces they've arrived. Stepping inside, the redhead starts screaming for her grandma, leaving our guy totally confused. A shadow looms behind the cookware, and a voice snaps. "I'm right here." An old lady steps out, roasting the girl, saying her hearing is just fine. Then she asks if this boy is the boyfriend, and the girl panics, denying it instantly. Annoyed, she introduces him as the top student, but the grandma scoffs, saying Babel Academy has really gone downhill lately. The woman introduces herself as Helena, and our protagonist politely introduces himself to the elder. Helena gripes about how much trouble rookies are, but tells them to quit loitering. The girl leads the way to the workshop, where they can finally get to work. Our hero scans the room, thinking, this old lady's craftsmanship is way better than he expected. He wonders why she's running a shop in the middle of nowhere. While the girl inspects a pan, she reveals an enchantment palette made of ground monostones. The young man is floored by the variety, and asks if her gig is restoring enchantment formulas. Smiling, she confirms he hit the nail right on the head, regarding her workshop hustle. She explains that, besides the paycheck, she gets to practice her enchants, without worrying about the bill. Using a magic brush, she sketches a formula with golden energy ink. The result? A perfect magic circle glowing brightly on the frying pan. Our protagonist realizes he only tagged along because she seems stuck on a losing streak. A flashback reveals everyone calling her a failure for flunking her projects in every exam, but seeing her in the flesh, he thinks he's found the root cause of her bad luck, and exactly how to cure it. Watching her work, he realizes her hyperfocus is actually a massive talent. His eyes widen, locking onto a hidden stash tucked in the corner. We're talking custom whetstones pulsing with mana matrices. These aren't just rocks, they're cheat codes for special effects. Grandma smirks, telling him to quit staring and get to work because she can see his hands twitching to unleash the white light. She offers a deal, handle the power, and the loot is his. He knows he's being finessed for free labor, but for gear of that tier, he's absolutely locked in. Eyes sharp and determination maxed out, the blacksmith steps up to the anvil. With a blur of motion, he snatches a random kitchen knife off the rack. The old master raises an eyebrow, asking if he's seriously bringing that rusty thing to a gunfight. He counters instantly the wear pattern is even. This blade belongs to a pro. He grabs the whetstone with the densest mana compression. Game time. With surgical precision, our MC starts sliding the steel against the stone. The old lady watches, stunned, wondering if this kid is actually a freshman or a Smurf account. Suddenly, Lee shatters the silence, screaming that she's done with zero chill. She finally spots her grandma and asks how long she's been lurking. Grandma fires back, calling her a noisy brat. Lee smirks, clapping back that grandma tried to catch her slipping, but got schooled instead. Annoyed, the old lady tells her to zip it, and delivers a solid flick to her forehead. Thwack. She turns to the protagonist, asking if he's wrapped up his grind. He grins, dropping a humble brag that it's his best work for a rush job, but he'll level up next time. The old lady hides her impression with anger, chucking an object at them and yelling to get out of her shop. The redhead claims her grandma is just being salty for no reason and drags the guy outside. Silence falls over the workshop. The old master stands alone, staring at the knife and the stone left on the table. Suddenly, the door bursts open. A man rushes in, screaming "Big sis," with way too much caffeine energy. Grandma tells him to hush, and he starts panicking, asking for his kitchen knife because the dinner rush is piling up. She sighs, roasting him for being a professor, who refuses to quit his restaurant gig, but he insists cooking is his passion. He spots the knife on the table, and grabs it, ready to sprint back to the kitchen. But the moment he inspects the edge, his face drops. His brain can't process the quality. He asks if she sharpened this while drunk again, but she denies it cold. Grandma drops the bomb. A freshman did it. The man freezes, totally shook by the news. She doubles down a first-year student who just enrolled turned that medal into a masterpiece. The chef is reeling, wondering what kind of monster rookie walks among them. Meanwhile, outside with Lee, our hero asks if the old lady used to be a professor. Lee confirms it. He digs deeper, asking if there's some tragic backstory there, but she brushes it off as nothing special. She explains that the department has been bleeding professors for the last 10 years. Switching gears, she asks how his enchantment turned out. He shrugs solid, flawless work. Lee laughs it off as no big deal, but he cuts her off, criticizing her for playing it too safe. She looks confused, so he spells it out. She had a better method in her head but choked. He tells her a creator's imagination is their weapon, and she's actively nerfing her own talent. Frustrated, she snaps back, asking if he thinks she's holding back. Because she wants to? He ignores the drama, whipping out a blade and saying he's got places to be. The redhead stares at the weapon in his hand, totally lost. He drops an analogy. Smelting is the body, enchanting is the flow. The knife starts glowing an angry red. He whispers the technique name, Crimson Lotus. Then, the glow shifts to a blinding white light style. This isn't a surface buff. It's an upgrade rewritten into the weapon's DNA. Dead serious, the blacksmith explains that if one layer fails, you split the flow. He warns that if she adapts this mindset, her results will hit different. With a flick of his wrist, he yeets the knife. Boom. It buries itself deep into a stone wall. The weapon hums, stuck fast, while white energy ripples down the blade. The sharpening force travels downward, tracing the Crimson Lotus path and slicing clean through the wall itself. He shrugs, it's not a real enchant, but implies a genius like Lee could pull it off. Lee goes quiet, realizing that legends forge their own lanes. Even when they're scared, face flushing red with excitement, she screams, "Hey, freshman!" and demands to borrow that item immediately. She's desperate, begging for the knife, promising to return it after she studies the code. Our hero agrees, cool as ice, and tosses her a set of whetstones too. She is absolutely vibing. She drops a quick thanks, love ya, and bolts with her loot, leaving him in the dust. Our guy just stands there, processing the sudden chaos, and waves off her retreating figure. Ding! A holographic notification pops up. Bond formed, Lee. He chuckles at the irony being a rookie in this brutal arena again. But the real prize? He's about to face one of the legendary three hounds. In today's main event, wham! Someone tackles him from behind. He spins around, totally confused. Yo, what are you doing here? Her eyes go saucer wide. Stalking you, obviously. He raises an eyebrow. If I say leave, you dipping? She nods, dead serious. But I can watch from the nosebleeds, right? He shrugs fine by him. Another system ping flashes. 2 juicy rewards incoming. Top-tier loot from Eric and Lee. Nice. They head inside the massive martial arts dome, soaking in the pre-fight hype as the crowd filters in. The MC, Ranfang, grabs the mic, introducing herself as today's hype woman for the broadcast. She cuts to the chase. It's time to roll out the fighters for the showdown everyone's been waiting for. Spotlight on center stage. A blonde bombshell steps out. She's the senior class alpha, top of the food chain, and heir to the Myers dynasty, an S-rank hero factory. She's already an A-rank powerhouse herself, and the 3-year reigning champ of the arena. She scans the crowd, radiating pure confidence. Meet Arya Myers. The crowd goes wild. Some fanboy in the stands screams his undying love for the queen, while our hero and Erica just vibe, watching the spectacle. Then, the challenger steps up, dude wielding a wicked spear. A smirk creeps onto our hero's face. Finally found you. It's the rabbit hound himself, Yum Sung-ho, one of the legendary trio from his past life. Spear blazing with fire, Sung-ho launches a full-throttle charge at the champ, with a devastating strike. Arya doesn't even flinch, she just smiles, ready to tank the hit. Boom! They collide, sending a shockwave through the arena. But wait, Sung-ho grunts, clearly taking damage, and looks shook that didn't go as planned. But he's not done. He grips that spear until his knuckles turn white. His aura flares up, flames raging. Arya locks in, eyes glowing. She conjures a blazing ring of fire for defense, then flips into a counterattack. They blur into motion, trading blows so fast the eye can barely track them in the center ring. From the stands, our protagonist is unimpressed. He's got the youth, but the skill? Mid at best. He spots a dozen mistakes. But the real deal breaker? It's that trash spear he's using. Sung-ho bets it all, hurling his spear with max power for the finisher. But then freeze frame. The weapon halts midair, inches from Arya's throat. The crowd gasps. Suddenly, the script flips. The spear tip is now hovering at Sung-ho's own neck. He stares down his opponent, eyes dead serious. The purple-haired fighter knows it's over. No excuses. He simply admits defeat. Arya nods, good game, and sheathes her blade. The announcer roars into the mic. And the winner is Arya Myers. She goes for the post-match interview, noting that Sung-ho already dipped due to personal reasons. Then she drops a truth bomb. Facing the number 9 ranked fighter, even I broke a sweat. She flashes a dazzling smile, opening the floor to fill time with Q&A, while while Sung-ho exits stage left. Our MC catches the vibe. Sung-ho is seething over that loss. Erica notices him moving. We leaving? The MC scoffs, total disdain on his face. Can't stand that grandstanding style. She's way too full of herself, he mutters, walking away. Erica's confused. Why is he so salty? But hey, at least he's not here for her brother. Back in the ring, someone asks about promising rookies. Arya's eyes lock onto a figure in the crowd. Blonde hair whipping in the wind. She stares daggers at one specific person. Reflected in her eyes, it's our hero. And she thinks, found one. Cut to a quiet park. Purple-haired Sung-ho is sulking on a bench. Enter our MC, who is relieved to see Sung-ho breathing. Flashbacks hit. This guy used to be the backbone of the legendary Death Squad, who sacrificed everything. Sung-ho looks up. You watch the fight? The blacksmith notes, the kid hasn't snapped. Yet. Yeah, I saw. Sung-ho's impressed. How'd you even find me? Then, his eyes narrow. Click. He knows this face. Wait, aren't you the top dog from Borsippa? What do you want? MC is thrown off by the hostility. Just wanted to chat, man. But Sung-ho shoots him a glare colder than ice. Beat it. The blacksmith tries to press on, but Sung-ho cuts him off. I hate the weak, and I definitely hate posers who think they're on my level. Get lost. Then, keeping a stone-cold poker face, the MC drops a single trigger word, blacksmith. Looking at Sung-ho now, he thinks, damn, he's way chill compared to his rabbit hound era. Talking is over. Our hero realizes diplomacy failed. It's time for action. Sung-ho senses the shift immediately. He's not backing down an inch. Our MC stands his ground, staring down his opponent before dropping one final, icy line. With a glare cold enough to freeze hell, he trash-talks the Firewheel Ember Spear, claiming its legacy dies right here, right now. That hit a nerve. Triggered, the Rabbit Hound launches himself at our hero, channeling pure rage into a fist glowing with lethal energy, ready to deliver a knockout blow. But the blacksmith doesn't even flinch. He catches the strike barehanded, his palm radiating a mystic blue aura that screams access denied. Ping! The system alerts that the Iron Seeker's Karma Seal just triggered. The collision is insane, igniting a massive, fiery shockwave between the two rivals. Purple Hair freezes, completely shook, that his mana-charged attack just got blocked like it was nothing. He realizes this guy isn't all talk, he's actually on his level. Refusing to take the L, he flares his Ember power, declaring it's game over. They square up for round 2 of this high-stakes clash. Yom Sung-ha unleashes a blazing inferno, but our hero stands in the fire like he's just chilling at a spa. The blacksmith literally sighs, totally unbothered. Meanwhile, the Rabbit Hound is malfunctioning. He can't process why the Ember, which should only obey his mana, is dancing in the enemy's palm. Eyes wide, the realization hits. This guy didn't just block it, he dismantled, and straight up jacked his ability. Our MC plays with the stolen flames, shooting him a look of pure disrespect. He's about to give the Hound a taste of his own medicine. Losing all sanity, the Rabbit Hound erupts with a terrifying purple aura, going full berserk mode. Our hero notes that this exact explosive temper is what caused the Yom Hwa sect massacre. Enraged, the Hound winds up a punch to silence the audacity, but the blacksmith's internal clock is ticking. His skill is fading, and his body is hitting the red line. Peaceful bonding? Yeah, that's off the table. He has to crush him. A thunderous boom echoes across the Grand Academy courtyard as the strikes collide. Our hero snatches the rival's fist mid-air, halting the attack inches from his face. But then, Jake Myers steps in, grabbing the wrist and demanding to know what's going on. The blonde turns and asks, do you know the top cadet of Borsippa? Yom Sung-ha confirms, but the Rabbit Hound just glares, looking absolutely salty. Jake orders him to scramble, and the guy actually listens, walking away as the blonde calls out to Lee Se-hoon. His buddy drags him off, telling him to quit spouting nonsense and just move it. The Rabbit Hound realizes he almost lost it and dragged his spear's rep through the mud. Face serious? He replays the clash with the blacksmith in his head. Meanwhile, Jake is grilling our hero for starting beef, saying he could have been wrecked. Our MC just smirks, claiming it was a total nothing burger, zero danger involved. A system window pops up. Bond created. The hero thinks, I only stepped to him to farm his karma. He figures if Yom Sung-ha goes soft, the stone's effect might glitch, so he needs to level up that bond as soon as possible. Glancing at his friend, the blacksmith thinks, this guy is useful, and smilingly asks about his hand. The blonde shrugs it off, bragging that his hand is tougher than the rest of his body combined. Our MC repeats, strong hands, huh? Before pivoting to something way more critical. The blonde asks, did you mention my sister back in the arena? Confirming it's Arya Myers, our hero waves it off, calling her nothing major, just a total pain in the neck. His friend sighs. That explains why she's so obsessed and asking a million questions about you. A flashback shows her smiling creepily. Jake hushes him, panicking. Keep it down, she's an A rank. But our MC sees her interest as an opportunity, plotting how to grab Arya's attention. Jake looks stressed, warning him not to underestimate her. She's dangerous, man. The blacksmith cuts him off, asking if his sister is the petty, backstabbing type. The blonde stutters, looking awkward, saying he wouldn't go that far. The protagonist wonders why he has such a gut reaction hatred for the blonde woman. He flashes forward to a future memory. Arya Myers, the legendary sword saint. She stands there saying, "Another disappointing sword," while facing down a horde of demons. Then, one day, the sword saint just vanished, ghosting everyone. In her place rose the demon god of annihilating light, wielding a cursed blade. Back in reality, the young man shudders. She gives off major bad vibes just by existing. He drops a quick goodbye and dips, leaving his new colleague standing there solo. The blonde freezes, totally confused, wondering what the heck just happened. Suddenly, his phone buzzes, startling him. He checks the screen. It's a text from his sister. "Tell me everything about your new friend." Then the phone actually rings, sending a shiver of pure terror down his spine. The screen flashes an image of the woman, coiled with a snake. With his sister's plea for a favor ringing in his ears, the protagonist stalks down the path alone, exhaling a heavy sigh of frustration into the void. Morning breaks at Babel Academy. Sitting in class, our lead feels a twinge of guilt. Maybe he went too hard on Yomsunga yesterday. Suddenly, the door flies open. A pint-sized professor rolls in on a bizarre contraption, instantly commanding the room's gaze. Meet Reese Doba. He announces a 2-week crash course in attribute smelting. But first, it's time for the moment of truth evaluations and the budget handout. Clutching the list, he pauses dramatically before reading the final name on the roster, Lee Se-hoon. As the name drops, a jealous rival smirks in the background, convinced he's about to cash in big compared to our hero. But the prof drops a bomb. Our hero's budget isn't even released yet, leaving the guy totally bewildered. The explanation? Se-hoon's craft was so god-tier, it got bumped up to a second-year auction. That means his funding depends on the winning bid. Se-hoon smells the vice director's meddling, but figures, hey, if it was a trap, my other professor would have shut it down. He rolls with the punches as the lesson shifts to residual mana. But there's a twist. A cadet will be assisting. The class gasps as Yomsunga strides in to take the spot as the temporary TA. Whispers explode across the room. One student can't believe it. Why is a legendary upperclassman slumming it in a class like this? Reese Doba cuts the gossip short. Introductions are over. It's time to dive into the heavy concepts. He breaks it down. In weapon crafting, residual mana splits into 2 lanes. First up, basic charging, and second, the beastly independent type. It's way tougher because building that mana core has 0 standard blueprint. So, everyone here is sticking to the charging type for now. The prof cues his assistant. Yomsunga flexes, and boom, a massive aura of roaring flames engulfs his hand. Fire mana is wild, the prof warns, but keep it on a leash, and it's devastating. He points to the technique, the fire wheel, Ember Spear. As the assistant demos the move, Hans is floored. He can barely handle the workshop furnace, let alone this. The prof tells them to step up their game and drops the assignment due next Thursday. The mission: replicate the fire wheel using attribute charging residual mana. With that, the master sends the herd scrambling toward the foundry room. But one student sees a golden ticket to network with the elite. Putting on his best fake smile, Hans slides up to the assistant for an intro. But the purple-haired icon shuts him down instantly. "Get out of my face." Hans crumbles, feeling like total garbage after that brutal rejection. But then, the assistant's voice rings out, calling our protagonist's name, who's already heading for the exit. The upperclassman demands to know, "What exactly do you know about me and my power?" The blacksmith doesn't flinch. He explains that spear mastery is all about the fire wheel count. Judging by that light show earlier, you're sitting comfortably at 6 wheels. Confused and rattled, the purple-haired senior chases down the blacksmith to get answers. Then, our hero drops the nuke. "I know you hit the 7th wheel before, and I know you lost it." Leaving him stunned, the MC continues, admitting the guy has a gift for fire, but something's wrong. "It looked like you weren't unleashing the power, you were letting it bleed out into thin air without a fight." Desperate for a fix, the rabbit hound begs, "Do you know what's causing it?" With a dead serious gaze, our protagonist nods. "I've got a hunch, but why should I tell you?" He holds the cards. Cornered, the purple-haired senior snaps, "Just name your price." A sly grin spreads across our hero's face. "First condition, you pay me fairly. Second, if you're ever stuck between a rock and a hard place, you come to me first." He gives him a countdown. Decide before they hit the foundry doors. Sweat beads on the rabbit hound's forehead. He grits his teeth and takes the blacksmith's deal, but adds a caveat. Prove it first. Cut to the Academy Forge room, where the class is prepping. Everyone's eyes are glued to Se-hoon. Is he really forging without a blueprint or verification? He starts mixing fire oil with dark ore, a precise 7-to-3 ratio. A student watching gasps, thinking the top dog has lost his mind. But the plan is simple. Blast it with heat until the elemental mana bleeds out of the ore. He tightens his gloves, locking in for the critical phase. Thermal displacement. He's tweaking the flames and mana simultaneously. The professor watches, stunned, finally realizing why the auction house snapped up his gear. Smiling, the blacksmith's mind drifts to Yomsunga. He spots a detail nobody else catches. He tells Purple to keep his eyes peeled and watch closely. Our MC stomps the pedal, cranking the heat until the flames roar. This technique forces the clashing manas into a perfect, stable loop. The prof and the rabbit hound just stare, jaws on the floor, watching the magic happen. It finally clicks for them. The hound realizes his secondary mana attribute was actually sabotaging his ember spear. The truth hits him like a truck. That's exactly why he got nerfed down to the 5th wheel. He later argues that even 5 black flame wheels pack way more punch than 7 regular ones. Then, the senior drops a bomb. His sect is sending an inspector to audit his skills. If he dips below the 6th wheel, he gets stripped of his successor title. Game over. Our hero suggests the classic method, but the guy shuts it down immediately. He explains, he's totally lost his grip on the dark mana. Powerless. The blacksmith asks, when this inspector is showing up, and the senior hits him with the deadline. Tomorrow. Panicked, he racks his brain for a fix. That works in just 24 hours. A light bulb goes off. Our MC steps up, gripping his buddy's shoulder, and asks if he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep the crown. The other guy doesn't hesitate, yes. Smirking, the young smith says, say less. The system window pops up, showing the orb, born from their bond, fusing fire and darkness. Clutching the item, our hero declares step 1, upgrading the hardware. Cut to the training room. The senior flexes that this spot is VIPs only, then offers to tweak the vibe, messing with a control panel. Instantly, the room morphs into a perfect replica of the Yamua sect training grounds. MC teases him, "Aw, homesick?" But the senior just waves it off. Holding the raw material, the kid says it's time to build the training gear. Then he starts crushing the dense ore with his bare hands. The screen highlights the black stone pulsing with high-grade crimson essence. The smith fuses the stone to the spear shaft. Boom. Job done. The senior looks weirded out by the dual spear setup, but gets the logic. 2 elements, 2 weapons. Our hero then instructs him to ignite a flame wheel in his left hand and channel dark mana in his right. Purple Hair dives right in, wielding both spears simultaneously. But out of nowhere, the mana detonates. His power spirals totally out of control. Dazed, he demands to know what just happened, and the smith explains he accidentally triggered the dark mana. He adds that mana mixing is usually standard, but for him, they're crashing into each other. Smiling, he slaps a bracelet on the senior, hitting the 6th wheel, easy mode. The purple-haired guy admits the gear is legit and goes back to grinding, way more hyped now. 3 hours later, the rabbit hound is still going hard with both energies. Our MC notes the guy adapts fast, probably because his future self designed this routine. The smith watches his moves like a hawk, tracking every breath. He analyzes how the mana circuits flow through his body and blast out the spear tip. The senior asks why he's staring, and the kid replies, he's just gathering data for a weapon. Caught off guard, Purple Hair actually listens closely. The MC warns him the weapon is just for a school project, don't get too excited. Then, he abruptly pivots to a heavier topic. He asks why keeping that successor title matters so much to him. Dead serious. The guy replies that his master wants him to lead the sect. As a disciple, his loyalty is absolute. Then we get the backstory. The rabbit hound was an orphan, adopted by S-rank hero Yam Jin-hyun. Even though the guy retired with an injury, his master, his father, still holds total sway over him. Suddenly, their bond levels up to 3. Our hero smiles progress. The senior turns and asks the million-dollar question, why help me? Our MC goes silent for a beat, before dropping his master plan. A visual flashes of the 6th grade demonic realms, pure nightmare fuel. He explains that to survive in there, he needs bodyguards and weapon mats. He gestures, noting that a sect leader should be skilled and loaded. The hound calls him a straight-up materialist, but the smith shoots back. You expected charity? The purple-haired guy then asks if he wants a price for saving his skin. He vows, if the hero secures his spot as leader, he'll ride with him into the demonic realms. Eyes blazing with conviction, he drops a heavy promise. Forge the weapon, and he will personally slaughter the demon gods. A wicked grin spreads across our protagonist's face. He is absolutely down for this. But the upperclassman cuts in, asking if he is going to regret signing his life away like that. The blacksmith doesn't flinch, vowing to force him into the sect leader's throne, even if he hates every second of it right now. Suddenly, a holographic system window pops up. The karma seal of the black stone is officially locked in and activated. Cut to the next day at the public training grounds, where the veterans' evaluation is finally kicking off. Right on cue, a guy named Kang Heon-won, an instructor from the Manhwa sect, pulls up for the testing phase. He announces that the sect leader sent him personally to put the young master and a few disciples through the ringer. One of the students starts glazing the instructor immediately, hyping him up as the top pick for the next leader. Mad Dog shuts that down instantly with a stare cold enough to freeze hell, reminding everyone that the throne is still empty. Totally humiliated, the guy stammers out an apology, realizing he did too much. The instructor tries to start the standard test, but the veteran shuts him down cold. Summoning a circle of fire, he declares he is skipping the line and signing up for the ascension of the seventh wheel. The crowd goes dead silent. In a quick flashback, we see the sect leader giving the instructor the green light to handle things however he sees fit. The instructor warns him that the seventh wheel means fighting a literal master, and he is way too green for that. Our hero just smirks and hits him with a taunt, triggering the instructor to demand his spear for a duel of power. It is a pure strength check, strongest one wins, and even a draw gets him the promotion. Mad Dog squares up, unslinging his brand new double-bladed spear. The instructor takes one look at the weapon and sneers, roasting it as a crude piece of trash. Unbothered, the purple-haired MC unloads everything he has, launching an attack fueled by pitch-black flames. The instructor freaks out, accusing him of using dark arts, because those flames look chaotic as hell. But with 6 wheels of fire and darkness spinning, the MC tells him to wait and see. Annoyed by the kid's audacity, the instructor yells that he is going to regret this, and charges in for the kill. Boom! The two spears collide, triggering a massive shockwave of fire and force that shakes the whole arena. The older man's eyes go wide. He is completely stunned by the sheer weight of the attack. Panic sets in as he watches his flame dragon get totally devoured by his rival's overwhelming energy. Then, the cracking sounds start. His own spear is buckling under the pressure. Unable to tank the hit, the instructor's weapon explodes into shrapnel right in his face. It is over. The man collapses to his knees, weaponless and utterly crushed. Mad Dog stands over him, spear resting casually on his shoulder, mocking the fight as crude. Our hero asks, "What's next?" And the veteran admits he is now master material, and a true successor. The blacksmith jumps in, asking how exactly one becomes the sect leader, and gets the rundown. The veteran explains the grind. First, hit 8 wheels, then get the master's seal of approval. The young man figures he can just fight for approval, but admits it won't be a cakewalk like today's match. Smiling, our protagonist claims it won't take long. Today's beatdown was just the proof of concept. The young blacksmith chimes in, warning his buddy that he better start worrying about the bill for all this work. Mad Dog nods, promising to settle the debt with cash or rare mats. Then, he drops one last request, catching the veteran off guard. The purple-haired MC grips the temporary weapon, thinking it is decent for a rush job class assignment. He starts wondering just how insane the final spear will be if the blacksmith whipped this up in a few hours. As they stroll, Mad Dog asks for something more practical, and points the spear tip right at his friend. A blue system screen flashes. Affinity level with Manhwa. Sunga has leveled up to 2. It is a transactional relationship. Every closed deal drops a new affinity stone. Scene change, we cut to the Academy's auction house, which is looking absolutely bougie. The auctioneer kicks off the regular event for the second-year refinement students. In the crowd, a young man notes that the turnout is huge tonight. He figures it's going to be tough for his rivals to make a move against him. With this many eyes watching, a suit steps up, explaining the theme, a hardcore quality inspection for iron swords. He unveils a shimmering silk cloth crafted from the hide of a white tiger, a straight-up demonic beast. An assistant swings to slice the fabric, but snap, the sword breaks instantly upon impact. The recoil is so violent that the blade shatters into fragments right in front of the stunned crowd. The auctioneer explains that this golden silk is the ultimate filter for trash weapons. Then, item number 1 hits the stage. Cadet Joseph's blade. The guy in the audience leans back, thinking this is about to get interesting since the organizers aren't playing around. The woman explains the gimmick. The white tiger's fur mimics a metal aura, actively weakening any weapon that touches it. She figures the light sword is doomed since slashing weapons are notorious for having trash durability. The guy nods, confirming she is spot on, and reveals this is a total setup designed to bury him and Professor Kim. But he just flashes a cocky grin, claiming the trap only works if the craftsmanship sucks. It is showtime. Our main character's masterpiece, number 36, takes the stage. The blade instantly erupts with a blinding electric blue aura, bracing for the ultimate durability check. Raw energy floods the weapon's frame, concentrating all that power into the edge for one devastating impact. The tester winds up and goes full send, driving the sword with maximum force straight into that impenetrable silk armor. The mastermind behind the trap watches from the sidelines, his jaw practically hitting the floor at the impossible scene unfolding before him. The room goes dead silent. The sword sheared right through the fabric like hot butter and came out pristine, 0 scratches.